Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into something truly fascinating. We're going to unpack a grim, dark fable that basically reads like the deeply psychological diary of a wanderer. And this isn't just any story. It's a profound look at someone who literally turned unimaginable trauma into impenetrable armor. We're talking about survival, isolation, and the wild, sometimes terrifying ways the human mind adapts to a completely unforgiving reality. It's an exploration of the landscape of the mind itself. So let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Right out of the gate, we're hit with these incredibly harsh words from the text. Water softens the stone, and warmth rots the iron. The Wanderer is essentially weaponizing philology here. Think about it for a second. Water and warmth, they're universally recognized as symbols of life, comfort, and healing, right? But in his mind, he has completely deconstructed that meaning. For him, comfort is corrosive. It's literally an agent of rot. He rejects comfort on a deep philosophical level, because in his reality, any softening of his hardened exterior is a direct, fatal threat to his very existence.
Section 1. Diary of the Wanderer. So the text lays out this incredibly stark foundational trauma. Picture a child crawling through shifting sands, completely left to the vultures by the very people who birthed him. This absolute lack of pity acts as the defining inciting incident of his entire life. The desert, as this massive symbolic force, doesn't offer him rescue or sympathy. Instead, as the text brilliantly puts it, it gave him teeth. He is an innocent who is suddenly forced to adapt to a brutal reality where even a single moment of vulnerability means immediate death. Section 2. The Desert's Teeth. If we walk through this chronological evolution, you can really see how this survival mechanism takes shape over time, starting from that foundational abandonment on day 1 to year 5 and then year 10. We see that it's no longer just about surviving the physical elements. He is deeply internalizing the desert's harshness. The cruelty of his environment actually becomes his own internal logic. He learns, the hard way, that vulnerability literally equals death. And because of that, to survive, he has to become as harsh and unyielding as those shifting sands. That harshness is internalized as a necessary cruelty. Section 3. The Oasis Trap. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this intense internal conflict. Most of us look at an oasis and see a refuge, right? A place for healing, water, warmth, and community. But the Wanderer entirely flips this traditional meaning on its head. He looks at that same oasis and sees a trap for the weak. When people in civilization offer him an extended hand, he doesn't see help. He literally sees a blade hidden behind a smile. His trauma has completely rewired how he perceives social interaction. He might have a fleeting desire for peace, sure, but that's entirely overshadowed by his absolute terror of vulnerability. He whispers to the wind that to trust another is to build a fortress out of dust. I mean, wow, that is such a critical insight into his psychology. You have to realize he isn't rejecting emotional connections out of simple malice or just to be cruel. He does it because his armor, which is essentially made out of his own scar tissue, demands absolute, unwavering self-reliance. To him, trust is structurally unsound. It's dust. If he leans on it, his entire defensive fortress just collapses. Section 4. Social Darwinism and Survival. Shifting into a more clinical perspective for a moment, we can really analyze his behavior through the lens of historical trauma theories. This foundational abandonment forces him into a framework of extreme social Darwinism. It's this incredibly harsh psychological state where peace is just a dangerous illusion. And affection? Well, affection is viewed as a literal existential threat. This worldview dictates that any warmth or connection actively undermines the armor he built to survive. So he's basically trapped in a state of constant, exhausting vigilance. Section 5. Forging the Iron Self. And this brilliantly illustrates how he philosophically justifies his ongoing suffering in his evening diary entries. When the sun sets, he doesn't weep for the day, and he certainly doesn't seek comfort in memories of a home he never had. Instead, he looks down at his bleeding feet, and he actually smiles. He completely reframes his tragedy. It's not a wound to endure, it's a crucible for greatness. He is the metal, the desert is the hammer, and his profound loneliness is the final shape. He takes his greatest wound and turns it into a deliberate, forged destiny. Section 6. The Prison of Isolation. This brings us to the tragic climax of his self-imposed anti-journey. Look at this perpetual cycle of loss. Step 1. Perceive vulnerability as weakness. Step 2. View affection as an existential threat. Step 3. Reject all comfort. And step 4. Use that rejection to validate his identity as a hardened survivor. By running on this constant loop, he entirely strips away his own capacity for empathy, which completely prevents any real possibility of healing or redemption. So, the crucial point is this. This dark fable acts as a massive warning. We can directly connect the Wanderer's path to modern isolation trends we're seeing today. In a world that sometimes champions extreme hyper-individualism, this is what happens when that mindset is born from unexamined trauma. When you build an absolute fortress of the self just to ensure you're never hurt again, those very walls meant to protect you eventually, inevitably, become a permanent prison. Which leaves us with this final, deeply unsettling question to reflect on. As you look at the armor you've built in your own life to navigate the harshness of the world, is your isolation a fortress to protect you or a permanent prison you can never leave? Think about it. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.